Technical fouls, they happen in the game. We need to have an understanding of the rules so we can adjudicate plays properly. That's critical to our success. We also have to recognize what technical fouls do to the game, how they impact the game. They can lead to emotional responses by the officials, confusion of the game participants, etc. We need to nail down our administration of how we're going to handle the adjudication of the penalties for technical fouls so that we can get our game back on track. And that's what we're doing today. We're looking at technical foul play scenarios and video. Let's go! Greetings, welcome back to 5 Play Friday, the show where we look at plays, analyze game video, and get better as basketball officials. Greetings again, everybody. My name is Greg Austin with abetterofficial.com. We craft video to help basketball officials get better and take control of their officiating career. If you are new to the show, consider subscribing, like the video. Right? Helps us get it in front of more officials. Consider subscribing and also hit the notification bell so that you are the first to know when we go live. Let me thank our fantastic show supporters, without whom the show would not be possible. We got Jeet Gulati, Jose Lansang Jr., Brian Maki, Tyler Matlock, and Thomas Hennian. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show? You can always buy us a coffee. There will be a link in the show notes below. Fantastic. All right. We are ready to rock and roll. So when it comes to videos of technical foul scenarios, sometimes the videos have to be a little bit longer because we're looking at the way that the crew handled the play. You're right, so we're going to look at the aftermath. Sometimes that can take time as well. So today our play scenarios will be a little bit longer potentially. So today we are looking at technical foul plays, right? We've brought forward some plays that are a little more unusual, right? Not the simple, player says, ref, waves off the official, player technical, right? Really straightforward, or a demonstrative coach, etc. We'll look for some unique plays, right, that we have available to us. So let's look at our very first play. All right. So we have a technical foul, a team technical for having more than 5 players participating. Let's look at our scenario here. Right? This is the start of a period. There's confusion by the team. Ultimately, they end up with 6 players on the court. To start the second period, right? Simple business-like administration. Sometimes, right, we see our visitors' bench here saying 6, 6, 6. Obviously, the officials putting the ball into play did not recognize the scenario. Right? That's obvious and straightforward. And this happens. It happens at all levels. We try to build in safeguards. We count players. We make sure that players coming in, coming off, etc. But in the end, these kind of plays happen in our game. Right? This is businesslike and straightforward. There's no drama. White knows they had 6. Visitors know they have 6. The officials recognize they have 6. Simple, straightforward. We move forward. Great demeanor, calling official, says, okay, we know what we're going to do, right? This makes everybody feel better. A simple and straightforward play. Right, so our first play scenario is simply having more than 5 players participating, right? We could say 6 because it's always going to be 6, but the rule says having more than 5 participating while the ball is live, right? Simple and straightforward. Great demeanor by the officials. This is what we want in technical foul scenarios. We want crisp administration of things and get the game back going again. So great job on our crew here, at least after the situation was recognized. Who's responsible to count the players? Everybody's responsible to count the players, right? But sometimes if we have maybe there's a distraction that occurs in the game, we don't know in this situation what happened prior to this, but we would expect our crew is aware, right? All it takes is a momentary lapse, and obviously the teams have to get into this situation, right, where there's a moment of confusion with the team and a lapse in attention by the officials, and then boom, we have 6 players on the court. And it happens at all levels of play. NBA has 6 player on the court scenarios, right? Highest trained officials in the world, right? So it happens. We obviously want to have systems in place to prevent it, but we need to know how to adjudicate when the plays occur. All right, so our first play scenario, we are looking at more than 5 participating. Crew got it right, great demeanor. We want to prevent, but in the end, that happens in our game. All right, let's take a look at our next play scenario. All right, so we have a situation where a defender violates the boundary plane and contacts the basketball while it is being held by the thrower. This is a player technical foul by rule, and along with it would come a delay of game warning for violating the plane if a delay of game warning had not already been issued to that team in the game. Right? Let's look at demeanor here, right? Ruling. About to go to the table. What's our good habit? Anytime we have a technical foul situation, go to a partner. What do we have? Player technical, 2 free throws for white, division line throw in for white, right? Slows us down. Make sure we have our ducks in a row. Go to the table, report. In this instance, official fails to report the delay of game warning that should have gone along with this. But it's a situation, not a common situation, but sometimes players are just like, I see the ball, right? I see the ball, it's right there, and they reach out, There's always a knucklehead factor that can happen with excitable high school players, right? So it can happen in our game. We see it happen, we take a moment to process, we adjudicate the play properly, and we get our game back going again, right? So this is a really straightforward and simple play, not one that we see all the time, but one that we have to be aware of the proper administration of the penalty. Hey, can I ask you a quick favor? If you're finding this video content valuable, take just a second. Hit the like button below. Really helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps to get the video in front of more basketball officials so that we can all get better together. trying to communicate. Oh, are the NFHS proper signals police coming after this calling official? Oh my goodness. A couple of quick and easy plays. Let's look now at play number 3.
Check on blue coach.
So, first of all, this court is extremely small, right? There is no room for the coach to be on the sideline virtually, and the stands go to the edge of the court. So our official is working on the court here, always a risk that we're going to get in the way when we're working as trail in 3-person mechanics. The official makes a ruling. That's all about. But we're ready to go with the game. Maybe the lead official here saw White contact the ball at some point and came with information. But we're ready to go. We've got a coach though who's on the court making gesticulations. Okay, should we put the ball in play here with this coach on the court? Right. If we're gonna escalate and say, how are we gonna handle this situation? This court is a court where it is difficult for coaches to stay off of the court. If they walk in front of any of their bench personnel, they will be on the court. Right. It's just a fact of life. So we're going to have potentially some flexibility here, but in this instance, if the trail official just says to the coach, "Coach, I need you off the court here," right? Maybe we prevent this situation, but we're inbounding the ball. Obviously, the coach continues, and our center official assesses a technical foul on the head coach. And then the official chooses to say, I'm going to go opposite. I do not want to interact with that coach, right? Goes to a partner, says, partner, here's what we have, etc. Everybody knows what we have in this instance. It's not a point of confusion, but makes the choice to go opposite, and that is always an option at National Federation of High School level. The calling official on a technical foul, if it's an emotional situation, right, feels that the game would be best served if they go opposite, that's always an option on this play. Okay, so the non-calling official in this instance says, okay, what do we need to maybe potentially verify with the table? A lot of times tables, maybe a technical foul occurs and they don't add it to the team foul because it doesn't go to a player, right? So let's see in this instance, right, our team technical fouls on the scoreboard are 4 and 5. The technical foul is assessed and the scoreboard doesn't change, right? So something we want to make sure is that our scorer has that information, of course, that the information gets up onto the scoreboard being a reflection of the scorebook. But that's what we have on this play. I think, Danny, the center is asking maybe he's saying, Coach, you're going to have to back up, but he continues to be on the court. Do we need to give a warning in this instance where a coach is on the court during live ball play? And when we say on the court, what are we talking about? We're not talking about having a toe on the court or, they are obviously on the court in this instance. Let's move on to our next play.
Fans checking into the game as it's progressing. Game starting here early afternoon time, so a lot of family members and parents probably still trying to make their way home from commutes. I don't imagine the crowd to be this sparse for the boys' game. By then, nighttime and settled in, and it's going to be packed house here at Lady College.
Yeah, it helps when it's a little couple hours later, and should be a fun one too.
Clock stops with a minute 20 seconds as another foul goes against the Bulldogs. That's their 15th foul here, compared to 16 fouls against the Wildcats. Not to get caught up on who are the recipients of those fouls after the first quarter break.
All right, held ball situation. We're going to have a resulting throw-in, alternating possession arrow throw-in. I think in this instance, whoa. Preview of coming attractions. I think in this instance, the coach made a request. Are we sure the arrow is correct, etc.? One of the officials goes, right? We're about to administer play. Substitute runs onto the court. The key thing here is to analyze, was the ball live when the player ran on, right? That's a key component here. The ball is live. The official is counting. Player runs on the court. We don't have a lot of leeway here once this occurs, right? Before the ball becomes live, player starts to go. Maybe we can catch them. Maybe we can stop them, etc. Early in the game, first period, right? Do a little preventative officiating. But in this instance, we go with a substitute technical foul. So the center official sees the player run onto the court. Trail doesn't have a view of it, obviously, when the player runs past. But center official sees. Brief conference, but we know what we're going to have. But basically a brief conference to say, hey, did you beckon that player onto the court? Right? If the official beckoned the player onto the court, then we don't want our error to put a substitute technical foul on the player. Right? As always, when officials confer, open to players. This is great. You can make a judgment. Maybe it's not a great idea to put your hand on the back of a female official or a smaller official, right? Just create a dynamic. That's the kind of thing we want to be aware of as officials. But in the end, a substitute technical foul is the ruling on this play. We don't get to see them very often, so it's good to have this one on video. Right, so we're checking the arrow in this situation. Everybody's ready. Ball's made live. Player runs on the court. Again, players can be goofballs, right? They can make mistakes. They're excited. This may be the first time this player's entering the game, etc. Right? So we just have to be aware of it and properly adjudicate the plays. We would resume with 2 free throws for white and the ball for a division line throw-in opposite the table. And of course, the free throws may be attempted by any player or eligible substitute. So a simple, straightforward play. The variables here are the ball becoming live, the fact that the player was not beckoned, the fact that we had no opportunity to really correct or prevent the situation at that point. and substitute technical foul is the ruling. All right, let's move on now. Play number 5.
Dribble drive going in. Spauman is going to have a block right back at him by Colin Kane. Recovered by Morris. Grabbed by Carlson. Goes in and gets absolutely hammered. Absolutely hammered. Now there's a little pushing and shoving with Kane and Spauman. That will bring the coaches off.
They just threw Spauman out of the game.
Spauman just got ejected. And
that was a really, really hard foul. Now another technical on the assistant coach.
No, the assistant coach is getting technical fouls.
The whole Monroe team is losing their cool. That was a very, very hard, unnecessarily hard foul down here. I don't know if they called a flagrant on it or not, but this is going to be a lot of free throws, and Monroe's kind of throwing this ball game away at this point.
And so we do know that there was a foul going in on Carlson. He got absolutely just waylaid. That was a hockey hit. That wasn't a basketball foul. And Chartrand was jawing. Spauman squared up with Kane, and it gave him a shove. And so that forced his ejection. The officials are still meeting in the center of the floor.
I think Kane was trying to...
All right. So we got some great components of this play. This play, on YouTube, the Snohomish video is like one of the most popular, most viewed videos on YouTube when it comes to basketball officiating, etc. But let's look at some components of this play that are really critical to understand, right? Some are unique, some are not. This is a layered play of the highest order. Things have happened on this play, and we are going to have to sort it out as a crew, right? First thing we notice is the defender contacts our new lead, forcing them into the bench area. Our official is out of position, right? It just happens for whatever reason, right? If you are the center on this play, you need to say, okay, I recognize my partner is out of position. I need to be aggressive on this play. That's what we have. Center comes in, boom, right? Foul call, great, movement to the spot of the foul, right? Great dynamic. I'm going to get there. That was a hard foul, right? We want to be on the scene, make the players know we are present. Unfortunately, there's action behind us, right? As a result, and our other official coming in becomes aware of it, maybe a little bit too late, but is aware of that action as well. Our recovered new lead recognizes the action as well. Right? We are directing players in this instance. Red, you are going to your bench, right? This is good. Our first thing to do here is separate the players. We're going to need to analyze what we have on the play and what the resulting action is and how we are going to adjudicate the play. And then at this point, we realize, wait, this coach on the court is an assistant coach, okay? So we need to be aware, rules. I don't think it was the case in this, when this video, when this play occurred. I think this was from 2017. The rules have subsequently been changed so that assistant coaches, as well as the head coach, can enter the court when a fight may break out, right? When we have a tension situation on the court, where players are going at it, etc., that meets the criteria of a fight may break out. NFHS says we want contributing adults to be allowed onto the court to help resolve that. You could say, okay, yes, that assistant coach is allowed to be on the court to assist in that. Is that assistant coach allowed to come at the officials in that situation, right? These are questions we need answered. We have that dynamic between the assistant coach. I mean, it seems to be cordial. The official seems to be making things better, but we do have that dynamic. Need to be aware of that. Hard foul. Obvious, intentional, excessive contact. Official comes in, goes to the fouler, right, with great energy. Our crew is out of position. We react a little bit late. We're assessing a technical foul for his 33's actions. And the other official is pointing. I assume he's pointing everybody to your bench, and not that player would have been ejected. Let's pause just a moment and recognize State of Washington uses a shot clock. It's coming to your area soon. All right, so our crew gets together. Great dynamic. Crew gets together. Right, we have a lot to talk about. We have a foul here. We have resulting this, that, and the other thing. We need to do all of the things. Right? Make all of the decisions, all of the rulings here, and then we're going to go present the ruling. Right? So here's what we end up with, though. We end up with one official is communicating with the scorekeeper what we have on the play, right? And we're not reporting it. We're sort of talking in hushed tones, and we're communicating. And one of the things we're communicating is to the announcer, who's going to communicate with the stakeholders in the game what we have, and this is a good thing, etc. But then we have the officials working with the coaches, right, and explaining the ruling, right? I do not like this dynamic, and I recommend that we think this through, how we can do this better, because we want to do all of the things. We could get the coaches together and say, here's what we have, or we could report, then get to the coaches together and explain our situation, if that's the best move forward. But when we separate our crew and we're doing different things at different times here, we're going to create a situation where we haven't answered all the questions, communicated the ruling, presented the ruling, and then we move forward, right? We end up with a situation where we have sort of a secondary conference. Then our official who reported the fouls comes in, and then we're sort of going to rehash things as again with the coaches on the play. I think we could really tighten that up, nail down our procedure here about how we're going to properly adjudicate this and how we're going to communicate, how we're going to game manage. So in the end, we have a super layered scenario. We want to be at our best here. It's going to be a challenge, right? We're going to have to piece things together, match up if we have technicals on both of the players who, So if we look at the original part of the play, see, here's where we end up with sort of a secondary explanation with the officials, right? And this is not what we want. Right? So if our initial adjudication on this play, right, so we have the players coming in, red 33 and white 54. 33 pushes past 54, gets to the injured player and taunts that player, right? Then we have shoving. Do we have anything on 54? I don't see it. Right, so we have the initial foul, which I think the announcers report as a technical foul, but of course live ball contact is going to be an excessive foul, an intentional foul by rule. Let's also note our small little cheerleader here, one of the exciting parts of the game of high school basketball. Right. But in the end, we're going to have a layered scenario and something we're going to really have to work through, and we want to do a good job of having all of the answers when we get together as a crew. We're going to do this, we have this, this, and this. We're going to do this, this, and this. Let's go report. We have this, 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 this. Coaches, right? So what we have on this play is this, we have this, and we have this. What we're going to do is I need a shooter to do this, I need a shooter to do that, etc., and then we're going to resume with a division line throw-in. Coach, I appreciate that. This is not a time for discussion. This is the ruling on the play. We are moving forward, right? Your assistant coach is ejected or what have you, whatever the ruling is. We need that bent member of your coaching staff to leave the visual confines, and I appreciate your help with that, etc. But here's the ruling. We are moving forward in this fashion. Let's go, right? We want to be really good at that. So, a layered play with lots going on. Officials were put initially in a rough position due to circumstances, and then events transpire, etc. All we're going to do is do the best we can, work with that. What we want to do when we analyze game video is look at plays, see what we could do better, what we need to be thinking about, etc., so that we can essentially improve ourselves without being on the court, but by simply viewing play scenarios. And that's the great value of looking at plays. All right, today we have a bonus play, and this is a longer video, but let's take a look at our bonus play.
Down by 3. The Raptors looking to steal one here. They've been down the majority of the game. They can hold for the last shot. Here's Smallwood.
Well, that's the shot they
In
wanted.
the corner. It goes!
They got it! Coach Shirley's going to call timeout. He's going to let the play go. Smallwood!
Number 5, Brennan Michelson ties it up with the 3 from the corner. There he is, number 5.
Don't celebrate just yet, Ravenwood fans.
All right, since this is a longer play, let's sort of go along with the play rather than allow the whole play to occur. So first thing to recognize, what do we have here? We got a dynamic high school environment. We've got student sections from both schools, big attendance, exciting game, tying three-pointer in the waning seconds, right? Great things going on in this game. So we have a timeout with 7.8 seconds remaining. Note that this clock on the screen is an inset, meaning that it is they're taking a camera view of the actual clock on the wall. On the replay, we got a sort of a scurry across by the lead official when a shot's going up. Not great, not ideal, but it is what it is in this situation. Let's bump forward. All right, so our crew has obviously had a chance to discuss the situation where we're, right, what are the things we're discussing here? We have a tie game with 7.8. We want to be aware of team fouls. We want to be aware of timeouts available. We want to be aware of the possession arrow. We want to be aware of all the things, right? All of the details. We want to have a game plan, how we're going to officiate this final scenario, what our approach is going to be, what our, what we're thinking about on plays like this, and let's move forward.
Their free throws the last couple of trips down.
All right, I'm going to go. Reed Smith is going to take the last shot in the paint.
Here we go, 7.8 seconds to left. Windley comes in. From the line, no good. And we will head to overtime. They let the clock run. I don't know if they're going to put any more time back on the clock.
Well,
but we're going to go to overtime, it looks like.
Okay, so we have an out of bounds call and the clock continues to run. Remember that our inset clock is not an approximation, but is a picture of the actual clock on the wall. So the clock definitely ran after the ball was out of bounds. That's one of the things we're going to talk about, is we need to have an accurate clock understanding. If we have definitive knowledge, we don't want to make something up. Well, I know some time remained So we want to have definitive knowledge, right? As our calling official, we want to have a really accurate timing on our out of bounds ruling. And as off-ball officials, we want to have an opinion about the clock in this situation. In the end, our crew determines that decline time did remain, and they put 0.3 on the clock. I don't know if that was somebody's perception or not. If we go back, we could see that it was more like 1 second or 0.8 seconds, somewhere in that range. But what do we know? Now we have a 0.3 scenario. What do we know? Right? That's the thing we're going to talk about, and that's the thing the crew was talking about. It's obvious that we are talking about, right, with 0.3, they cannot catch and shoot by rule. Okay? So our crew is like ready. If once they catch the ball, they cannot score. Let's resume the game.
Tenths of a second to go. Can Ravenwood pull the miracle here, or do we go to the extra frame? Don't know that anybody's going to have enough time to do much of anything. Smallwood will pick it up and launch. Smallwood makes it. Smallwood makes the shot. The whistle had sounded. The kids are storming the floor. But I'm afraid they're going to have to go back up into the stands.
Wow.
Smallwood hit the half-court shot, well, more than half-court shot. But as soon as he touched the ball, the referee blew the whistle.
Yeah.
So you see the ball dribbling right there down the floor. Smallwood picks it up, tweet. That's the whistle. The ball flies through the net. The kids go crazy. They think they've won it. The kids stormed the floor, but the whistle sounded. We all heard it, all the parents, and we heard it on this side of the floor. And now we've got another conference there.
Hey, I think the whole premise is this, Michael Williams. At 0.3, you can't pick the ball up off the ground and throw it up. I think you're going to have longer time, and I think that's what the referees are trying to explain to him. Human reflex error, it's going to be about 0.5. 0.5 is going to be your time.
You think they're going to put about 0.5 seconds back?
No, I'm just saying it's going to. If there was 0.5,
it's going to take 0.5.
Yeah, the whole process of picking it up and throwing it is about 0.5, 0.6. There's no way it was going to count, and I think that's why Greg Shirley put no pressure on the ball, because he knew.
He knew that it was as soon as you touch it, it's dead.
Right, exactly. And I think that was what he was told. He said, we're going to blow it no matter what.
Okay. Well, the referee didn't wait for a buzzer.
Because
so he definitely whistled it up as soon as
if
he
you were
touched
coaching
it.
or I was coaching, would you let the kid just pick it up and shoot it? No, you would have pressured the guy. So Coach Shirley knew, I think beforehand, that no matter what was going to happen, it was going to be dead.
Well, the Ravenwood kids, they had about a 20-second party until they realized that they had to be back up into the stands. So it looks like we're going to go to the extra 4 minutes here.
Right. Hey.
Well, exciting no matter what.
Well, if you paid to get in the game, you got your money's worth tonight.
Certainly not boring tonight, absolutely. 54-54 your score. Michael Williams, Paul Brees. This has been probably the most exciting game we've done. Ravenwood down for the majority of the game, but able to come back and tie it up on a Brennan Michelson three-pointer. And it looks like Ravenwood's going to be called for a technical foul.
Well, yeah, technical foul because they stormed the floor. You can't do that. And that's what they're trying to say.
And that's Kellen King. And he makes the crowd pay with 2 technical free throws, puts Brentwood back up 56-54.
Now, theoretically, the buzzer had sounded. I'm not sure why the crowd coming on the floor
All right.
caused a technical foul.
Well, that's exactly right. Now
There was no time on the clock, but because the game was tied, the play still continues, and so that's why. There you go.
Back at it.
I answered my own question. What am I doing?
So Brentwood, they'll maintain possession.
Okay.
Out of the jump
All right, a lot to unpack here. Let's do this. Put that on mute. Okay, so. Right, I see. So we have a situation where a last second shot appears to go in, right? Crime on the clock, timeout, sorry. Let's look at our administering official here. Boom. Awesome, right? No confusion. This is a spot throw-in, right? We've told the player it's on video. There's no confusion about whether that player can move, and we're going to have a resulting throw-in violation. Perfect. Now our crew knows at point 3, if they catch the ball, time will have had expired. They cannot score. Player makes a miraculous attempt. Ball goes in. Our center official waving it off. But notice the dynamic, just the one motion. Okay? Student section, players, team members on the bench, everybody's excited. We have won the game, right? Student section, here come our knuckleheads. They are going, the players are like, dude, right? It's not over. And we have a throng of fans on the court, right? Let's think about the timing here. Already, everybody on the court is being waved off and is headed now back to the stands. In the end, the officials assess a team technical foul for the fans on the court. Is that the correct ruling in this situation? That is the ruling. When do we assess the penalty? Okay, this is something that has occurred after time has expired in the 4th period during a tie game, right? These are the components that we need to be aware of. The officials assess a team technical foul by rule. Now, where do we find the ability for the officials to make this assessment? Let's take a look at that. So, if we look at Rule 2-8-1, penalize unsporting conduct by any player, coach, substitute, team attendant, or follower. And here's the note, and the note is the key portion of the rule. The home management or game committee is responsible for spectator behavior insofar as it can reasonably be expected to control the spectators. The officials may rule fouls on either team if its supporters act in such a way as to interfere with the proper conduct of the game. Discretion must be used in ruling such fouls, however, lest a team be unjustly penalized. When team supporters become unruly or interfere with the orderly progress of the game, the officials must stop the game until the host management resolves the situation and the game can proceed in an orderly fashion. In the absence of a designated school representative, the home coach must serve as the host management. Officials are empowered to assess a technical foul, but we look at the language here and, the key component is delay the orderly progress of the game. right? So after a made basket here, you could logically say, well, wait a minute, time has expired in any event. If the people who have come on the court erroneously, either be team members, jumping on the player who released the try from the backcourt, and they mob them and they're all over the court, etc. Is the team delaying the orderly progress? The period is over in this instance. So that's important to recognize. This wasn't, we weren't going to have a resulting throw-in a moment later, and we had to wait and delay the game. Okay? So even though we have the power to assess technical fouls related to fan behavior, it needs to meet certain criteria, right? And if the officials in this instance just allowed the natural flow of the students back up into the stands, then the game would not have been delayed, as we have a 1-minute intermission here where before the start of overtime. But in the end, the officials assess a team technical foul. Okay? Now, should that team technical foul be a part of the fourth period, or is it part of overtime? We need to know this. This is obviously, if we get to this situation where we're making decisions about when to administer technical fouls in a tie game at the end of the fourth period, it is obviously extremely important that we get things correct, as this is a key moment of a very close game. The correct procedure here would to begin the fourth period with the technical foul free throws. And when we have technical foul free throws, of course, they are always followed by a division line throw-in. So in this instance, where our officials administered 2 free throws for the team technical and then resumed with a jump ball, our crew made a mistake in this situation. It should have been black ball at the division line opposite the table. Black wins the tip, right? No harm, no foul, right? But again, we want to adjudicate these plays properly. So, a crazy scenario, and one that we just have to take the full scope of it, right? And recognize high-profile game. The crew is obviously extremely competent, right? We seem to have a lead official, a crew chief, and the U2 and the U1 really listening to the crew chief in this environment, right? We have to recognize that. If we recognize that we have a experienced veteran official who's the crew chief, younger official, etc., recognize that dynamic, recognize how we're going to approach that dynamic as a crew. And if you're that young official and you have something different, you have got to fight for it. Not saying we had that in this situation, but I can imagine the dynamic that occurs. So in this instance, right, crew makes the ruling. I would say that's an erroneous ruling. They could justify it potentially, but puts 2 free throws in the game, and we resume with a jump ball, which that's a mistake that the crew made as well. But it's a situation where it's great to evaluate this. All right, so we evaluate the dynamic, right? We have a packed gym, huge student section. They may be going back and forth all night with chants and things like this. Maybe we've got a band in one corner. We've got cheerleaders at both ends of the floor. This is a dynamic high school environment, right? A lot of fans, right? This is going to be a game you want to work, right? These games are so fun, but it may be a game that you're not yet working, right? And all of these elements are, potentially putting pressure on the crew in these situations, in these game deciding and moments, right? Now, imagine the same situation occurs in a JV game and there's 14 people in the stands, right? And you're working that game, right? We can take what we learn in those environments, those classroom environments, those lower level environments, right? So we can handle our game situation in those environments, so that when we get to the big game, when we get to the environment, etc., we are best able to perform. So in this instance, Our crew makes a couple of mistakes, but a super exciting play scenario, right? So the no shot is easy peasy, right? So let's talk about the dynamic displayed by the center official, right? Great professional wipe of the shot, perfect. Except, right? In this instance, right? Let's talk about NFHS says we don't want officials to try to draw attention to themselves by the use of unapproved or theatrical signals, etc. In this instance, I would say a more demonstrative effort by our center official, right? We see sometimes a calling official is emphatic with multiple wave-offs of the shot. It can do things, it can help influence the decision by the student section to come on the court or the bench to rush onto the court, etc. If we are trying to tamp that energy down with no shot, right? And maybe really, enhancing our presence in a way that we wouldn't normally, right? And normally we're going to be, emphatic. We want to, make a definitive ruling, and everybody respects that. But we may, embellish more in an effort to say, wait a minute, hold on, everybody, no shot, no, you're not coming on, no, you're not leaving the bench. It's just no shot, right? I appreciate Mike Capps, an official here in the Bay Area, pointed me towards that video, and it's a great scenario, and it's one that's not going to happen a lot, and it's one that's not necessarily going to happen at all levels. We're not always going to get such a big student section, and there's nothing better than the game-winning shot. The student section comes on the court. We've got to make our way through and get to it's a great way to end a game. Right, and it can be an exciting conclusion to a game, and it's you got to think that it's a hair trigger situation. Everybody's just waiting, excited, we won, right? And they come onto the court. It's a very natural reaction. I mean, point 3 was not the right number when the official raised their hand. It was at point 8. We can go back and look at and pick nits, but we want information for both of those outside officials. What did they have to look at on this play in this scenario? Let's look back right here. So the ball bounces inbounds here, and then when it contacts here, right, when it contacts out of bounds, that's when the official rules the out of bounds violation, right? And maybe the whistle blows at about here when the official's putting their hand up, but I'd want that center official to be looking through and have that awareness of the clock. What are they officiating otherwise in this instance? Right? We have rebounding action, ball bounces, and then there's that moment where the ball is suspended in air, right? Both of those outside officials, you have to have a number when the whistle blows. Have to have a number, right? And if that number is 0.8, 0.7, then potentially we have something different in this end of game scenario. And that's not to say the same thing would have happened. The defense may have been very different. The defense may know, hey, we don't have to defend this. There's no way they can score. So I'd say the moral of the story when putting time back is, and I appreciate the sentiment there, but the moral of the story is put the right number up. Well, thank you for joining us today on 5 Play Friday and our look at technical fouls in National Federation of High School Basketball rules and some of the many things that can come from analyzing our game video. If you appreciate video content like this, now would be a great time to do all the things. Hit like, subscribe, and notify. You hit like, more basketball officials get exposed to the video through YouTube algorithm, and we all get better together. You hit subscribe and notify, and you don't miss out on any of our new content. You're always the first to know when something is new. Let me thank our fantastic show supporters, Jeet Gulati, Jose Lansang Jr., Brian Maki, Tyler Matlock, and Thomas Hennian. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show and the channel? You can always buy us a coffee at abetterofficial.com/coffee. You know there's a link above, and you know there's a link in the show notes below. All right, the other 2 videos in the series are available here. Up here, we've got the masterclass, the basketball rules expert. Check those videos out as well, and we'll see you in the very next one. Take care.